My name's Jim Meehan. I'm a retired civil servant, probably detect from my accent, originally from Liverpool. Moved to Standish over 30 years ago. Retired 8 years ago and developed an interest in local history, archaeology, family history, and I've been sort of busily researching local stories ever since. Today I'm telling the story of the murder, the barbarous murder of Wigan Lane. So a murder that took place in 1840. I guess it would be counted, or strictly speaking, it would be called a highway robbery. A local collier pulled from his horse, shot in the head at point blank range. I'm in St Wilfrid's churchyard, Standish. St Wilfrid's is an ancient church. It's been here since at least the 12th century. The churchyard is even more ancient. It used to be round, and we think that means that it was a pre-Christian place of burial and worship. But we're in the early Victorian section of the churchyard today, and we're interested in this grave, the grave of the Coulton family. I was passing through the churchyard a few years ago, noticed this grave, and it drew my attention because it had an awful lot of writing on it. And when I started to read the writing, two words jumped out at me: barbarously murdered. So I took a much closer look and revealed the full story of what happened to John Coulton. The stone itself tells us quite a bit about the story, so let me read it to you. This is what it says. Sacred to the memory of John Coulton, late underlooker to the Right Honourable the Earl of Balcarres, a steady and faithful servant who was robbed and barbarously murdered in this township on the 25th day of July 1840, whilst on his way from Wigan to his residence in Hay. He was a man deservedly respected by all who knew him, aged 38 years. So John was on his way home. He'd been drinking for most of the day in Wigan. He reached here on his horse in the early hours. He passed this boundary stone, so he was in the township of Standish with Langtree, where he was murdered. Suddenly John was pulled from his horse by three men. John was 6'3", an underlooker, so worked down the pits, and he decided to fight back. Suddenly there was a loud bang. John had been shot in the head at point blank range. His horse galloped off and was found in Standish the following day. John lay here for several hours until a passerby finally stopped. Incredibly, John was still alive, but just. He was carried here to the Boar's Head and laid out on a table. The local physician treated him and sent him home in a shandry, an open carriage. The physician would later testify that John still had the slug in him, as he put it. He removed a piece, but later on, after John's death, he opened John's head again, as he described it, which revealed the bullet had shattered on impact, causing a hemorrhage, which was the cause of death. This is where John lived and was brought from the Boar's Head. He died here 3 days later. This was the site of a row of miners' cottages, Red Rock Row, which were demolished to make way for the Lancashire Union Railway. It became the site of Red Rock Station House. So the inquest on John revealed that he'd been murdered for a pocket watch, a hanky, and the small change that he had left. All that was left in his pockets, it was said, was a piece of bread. As my research unfolded, it revealed an incredible story Dickens would have been proud of, including a group of falsely accused navvies, the arrest of a criminal street gang, prison escapes, death in custody, police corruption, transportation to Van Diemen's Land, modern-day Tasmania, and the discovery of a possible murder weapon over 170 years later. The story also shines a light on the Victorian punishment regime, which included hard labour, solitary confinement and floggings. All of this was revealed from finding this gravestone in St Wilfrid's churchyard and through research at the archives in Lee Town Hall.